Hey guys, it's your girl Kelly from kelleydawkins.com. I'm back. It's been a long time since I vlogged. It's in fact been a year. So January of 2017 I started a vlog, and so this is my next vlog to you guys. It's my bad. I apologize. I'm guilty of not vlogging, but life has changed drastically for us in this past year. We very recently gave birth to our first child, a baby girl, so we're super excited about that. We also moved, so the room looks a little different. We're actually filming from my bedroom today, and so a lot has changed in our lives, but I wanted to get back on here. I wanted to invite you guys into the journey that I took during our pregnancy, and so I wanted to share with you guys our labor and delivery story. We actually gave birth December 12th, and so baby came a little early. She was due December 18th, but she came a little early, which is fine. We were happy and excited to meet and greet her, but I wanted to share with you guys just the decisions that we made leading up to our labor, and our labor and delivery process and our experience during our pregnancy. I watched a ton of YouTube videos about women's labors and their delivery processes, only because I wanted to be prepared, but I also thought it was just helpful to see the many different ways that like it can go. So everybody's pregnancy is different, everybody's labor and delivery is different, so I want to share my personal story. Hopefully it encourages you. We did opt for a natural birth, and so just the decisions that we made around that and a support team that we had. My husband was great during this time as well, but yeah, so we just wanted to encourage you. So without further ado, let's get started. Like I said, our little girl was due December 18th, and she came December 12th. So start from the very top. We woke up, or I woke up, let me say, I woke up at about 1:20 a.m. on that Tuesday morning, when I felt what was a gush of water, and actually it was like a tiny gush, but it woke me up out of my sleep. I was dreaming, and I had a like pinched nerve in my thigh throughout the course of the last few months of my pregnancy, and so that pain that I had been feeling off and on also happened in that moment. So that and the gush of liquid jolted me from my sleep. I looked over at my husband Dave and I said, I think my water just broke. So I went to the bathroom, and guys, this may be TMI for you, but I just want to be as honest as possible, so you guys can know what to experience and what it's all about, or what it's like. So I told him I think my water broke. I went to the restroom, used the restroom as usual. There was no other extra liquid happening at the time, but then I also lost at that time what they call the mucus plug, which is essentially what keeps your cervix closed and secure so that nothing gets in and nothing gets out. And so that happened, and what they also call the bloody show, which, if you can imagine, like, it's a horrible name for it, but I mean, it is in fact bloody. So all of that happened in those few moments after I thought my water had broken. And so we called the hospital and said, hey, I think my water's broken, but I'm not certain, because it wasn't like what people say it's gonna be, or what like the movies and like TV shows say. Like, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I think I peed on myself, or like, oh my gosh, like there's a flood coming out of me. Like, it wasn't anything like that. It was really like, I'm not really sure if that's what happened. It feels like it, but I'm not sure. But typically when your water has broken and you lose your mucus plug, you can almost guarantee that you're going into labor. So I wanted to be extra sure. We called the doctor, or we called the hospital. The hospital told us to come on in and get checked and just be sure, because typically when you lose your amniotic fluid or your water breaks, they want to make sure that it doesn't get infected. So over the course of the 24 hours afterwards, they really want to have you come in, because if not, you risk infection, which can be harmful to you and harmful to the baby. So we called, we went in, and actually I took my sweet time getting out of the house. I hadn't really finalized all of my hospital bags, so I was doing that. I was getting clean clothes out of the dryer, brushing my teeth, washing my face. I didn't even get to shower, which I was really kind of like about, but I was like, you know what, it's gonna get messy over the course of the next 12 to 24 hours, I'm sure. So let me just get my life. So I brushed my teeth, washed my face. The husband was helping me pack up stuff, and of course he was like, let's go, but I was like, it's okay, like labor probably just started, so I'm probably good. But yeah, so we made it to the hospital around 2:50. They checked us into a room to just see if it was indeed my amniotic fluid that had started leaking, and it was. They confirmed it. The midwife who was on staff, the hospital we were at had midwives on staff, which was also really great. If your doctor wasn't available or the doctor on call wasn't there, there were midwives there as well to assist. And so she checked me. She checked my dilation. She said I was 2 centimeters dilated, and I was paper thin, which means my cervix was completely thinned out for labor. So I was good to go. We were getting checked in. Y'all, I don't really know how I felt in the moment. Like, I wasn't super nervous. I wasn't super excited either. I was just kind of like, okay, let's go with the flow. Like, this is the next step. Like, we're just gonna take it moment by moment, hour by hour, and see what this is all like. This is my first child, and so I didn't know what to expect. I know what I had watched on YouTube. I know what I had learned in the birthing classes, and I know from other women and friends who had gone through pregnancies recently, just kind of what to expect. But like I said, everybody's is different, and so I knew that my experience will probably be totally different from others that I had spoken with or asked about it. So they put us then into a labor and delivery room. At that point, we had already called my mom and let her know that my water had broken. Y'all, she thought we were playing with her because I had been bugging her, telling her, like, leave your phone on, like, take it off do not disturb, because when I go into labor, like, you need to hear the phone ring because I want you to be there for it. And so girl, my mama was like, I turned my phone off at night, and I was like, oh no, man, we have to fix this because you need to know when we go into labor. So she kind of thought we were joking, and it was like late, you know, early in the morning, excuse me. So she kind of thought we were joking, but she got her bearings, got her life, and came on to the hospital. But while we waited for her, I got started with the medicine ball. So during labor, there's a few things that you can do to kind of aid you in labor progression, and then also in comfort during labor, because it's painful, for sure. But started on the medicine ball. Dave was there with me. We got a playlist going and started some music, and so I kind of went back and forth from like Christian gospel to like dance music, like reggaeton, like Afrobeat, like just kind of between the two, of like what my mood was and what kind of encouragement I needed in the moment or motivation. And so we also opted for a doula very last minute, guys. Like 2 weeks or so before, I was scrambling, like, I think we need a doula. I think it would be helpful, especially if I really want to stick to going all natural. And so we had provided a birth plan to our doctor. The hospital that we gave birth in was super friendly and super like natural birth friendly. So they had lots of things that we could use. They had a diffuser in the room that we could kind of set the mood and the atmosphere, so we used that. And so my mom arrived, the doula came after. Shout out to Courtney of Soulfully, don't let me mess up the name. It's Soulfully Birth doula, or Soulfully Birthing doula. I'm gonna get that together. But Courtney was awesome. She came in last minute and really kind of saved our butts. But she was super helpful and integral during the laboring process. She knew what comfort measures to use. She was encouraging Dave on how to do them. So my husband was the one that was really kind of helping me most of the time with those comfort measures. But she was awesome as well. So like I said, when we got in, I was 2 centimeters thinned out, ready to go kind of, and just kind of waiting for the centimeters to continue till we get to 10. So we were laboring, a total of 9 hours I labored. And during that process, the hip compress, y'all, it is a method that's used to alleviate pressure on your pelvis. And so the hip compress was a lifesaver, and it's kind of like one of the first labor measures that she labor comfort measures that she used while I was laboring to help me relieve some of the pain and the pressure that was on my pelvis. And guys, like, when I say it was the best thing ever, like, I don't know if anybody else is going to do a natural labor, make sure you have someone or some people committed to do hip compresses, because they do take a lot of energy and like strength to do them well and to do them correctly. But if you have, like, they kind of tag team, so Dave and her were doing it back and forth together, and it was great. I did decide that I didn't want to have my dilation checked until the next morning, so kind of like the morning when the sun was up morning. My doctor was actually going to be on call that morning, so that was awesome. She got in at 7 o'clock that morning. I think she came by our room at about 8:30, and so at that point I had progressed from 2 centimeters to 5 centimeters, which is awesome. For the amount of time that I was in labor. For a first time mom, they typically say it takes anywhere from 12 to 24 hours for first time moms. So I was kind of anticipating this being here for I'm not sure how long, but the fact that I was at 5 centimeters from 3 o'clock to 8:30 was great progress. So the doctor was on call. She was going delivering other babies, and so we just continued our labor methods. At one point, the doula and the nurse on staff, who was also awesome, I believe her name was Brittany, so shout out to Brittany, but they encouraged us to use the peanut method to kind of help progress labor and help me dilate more and dilate quicker and faster. So they told me up front I was gonna hate it. They said, look, you're not gonna like it, but it works. And so essentially it's a medicine ball, but it's shaped like a peanut, and you are moved to the bed. So this time I had been like monitoring intermittently, so I wasn't hooked up to the machine. I was able to like walk and move and dance and rock and sway, and like if I wanted to, I could have walked down the hallway and came back. So they were just kind of checking me every 30 minutes or so, and checking baby's heart rate every 30 minutes or so, which was awesome. Because I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I had opted to have like an epidural or something along those lines. I would have had to been bedridden essentially, and would have had to have the IV in and like being monitored the entire time. So we moved back to the bed. They had me lay on my side. They took the peanut medicine ball thing and placed it between my legs and had me lay on each side, and while I was going through those contractions, it was helping me dilate. Now, I don't really know the science behind it. All I know is it was painful, guys, like painful. So at this point I had been dealing well with all of the contractions, the labor pains, but when we got to this medicine ball situation, I was like, okay, I need an epidural. So my mom, who of course I'm sure was just worried about me being in pain and like wanted to alleviate as much pain as possible for her little girl, was like, okay, well, let's bring the doctor in. Like, what do we need to do? Let's sign her up. She said she wants an epidural. Let's go. I did not hear a peep from my husband or the doula, who of course knew my birth plan and knew I wanted an all-natural birth with no interventions unless medically necessary. So they didn't say anything. Instead, my doula suggests that we just continue with the medicine ball. We try for a few more minutes and change sides and things like that. So I said, okay. We didn't bring anybody in for epidural. The anesthesiologist didn't have to come by. We just kept on with the medicine ball, with the peanut ball method. So after that was complete, I decided I wanted to labor in the shower. So unfortunately, they don't have bathtubs at the hospital that we gave birth in, but they did have a shower, and so I was able to go into the shower. Dave came with me, and he just kind of like took the shower head and like ran warm water over my back and over my stomach while I was contracting. Now, I love being in warm water. Like, honestly, guys, if I could walk around in hot water all day, I would, but you can't. So I was kind of bummed they didn't have a bathtub, because I would have loved to labor like in a tub the entire time. But the shower was great. So we stayed in there for about 20 minutes and then came out. I had to use the restroom, which was great, because then that means that when I was pushing, I didn't have to worry about anything else. So again, TMI, but look, it's real, it happens. So I got to use the restroom before all the pushing happened. But the doula suggested that we stay in there and labor on the toilet, which for whatever reason, I guess being in the position you are when you're sitting or squatting on the toilet is ideal for the canal that like the baby's gonna have to come through and that whole positioning. So we stayed in there. That was super painful because I didn't have any like labor comfort measures to utilize during that time, but wasn't in there for long. At the time the time that was happening, I wasn't sure how far I had dilated since the 5 centimeter check, but the doctor came back in shortly thereafter. She checked me again and she said, you're at 9.5. So 10 is the goal, and I was at 9.5, and that was around 10:30 that morning. So from 8 o'clock, the peanut method situation, and 10:30, I had progressed another 4.5 centimeters, which is progress and happened really quickly. I really was kind of managing the pain well, with having Dave there. It was super supportive and so sweet to have him there, and the doula really helping out. Like, it was anything I could have imagined, or everything I could have imagined. So I was really grateful for them. And so about 10:30ish, they checked me. Like I said, I was 9.5 and just looking to get to 10. So my doctor knew that 10 was coming quickly. I think we all did. And so they basically wanted me to try and figure out some ways that I might want to labor. So because I was opting for a moving labor where I wanted to be mobile and be able to, you know, kind of decide which position I wanted to be in to labor and to actually push the baby out, we tried a few different methods. Now, we tried like over the bed. So essentially my stomach, or kind of the front end, would be leaning over the bed, and you'd be able to, over the back of the bed, let me say, and you'd be able to push from there. We also tried using, they have a bar that they can hook up to the bed, and you can either lean forward over it and kind of squat down in a squatting position and push that way. They also tried on the side, so basically in the same position I was with the peanut ball, but laying on my side with legs agape and pushing that way. But none of those positions worked for me. Like, honestly, I think I was at that point in too much pain. I had started to really labor in my back a lot, which I was pretty small for 39 weeks, which is what I was. December 12th was 39 weeks. I was kind of small, so a lot of my laboring was happening in my back, and it was super painful for me to be in any of those positions. Also, guys, like, if you're planning to squat through labor, you probably need to be squatting in preparation for it, because my muscles were like, no ma'am. So that wasn't going to work for me, and actually I just ended up kind of in the position you'd normally be in, which is kind of on your back, legs open, and pushing that way. Now, I didn't get in any stirrups or anything. The nursing staff, my doula, my husband were kind of holding me in that position to push, but it was really helpful for me because I got to relax my back. I didn't need to engage so many muscles to support myself, and then I also was able to push against their hands to push baby out. So the doctor came in, asked if I was ready to push, and I was like, I don't know, like, aren't y'all supposed to tell me? And they were like, oh no, you will know when it's time to push. Your body will tell you. So we kind of waited around a little bit, and then we started pushing. I'm not sure what time. Like, at that point, time meant nothing to me. I didn't know. I just knew I was prepping to bring this child into the world very soon. So I do know that the doctor came in, and for whatever reason, she had left her cell phone in her car, and she was the doctor on call, so she was missing important phone calls from clients and or patients, excuse me, and nursing staff and all that. So she came in and was like, can I run down and get my phone? Like, it'll take me about 10 minutes total. Can you wait? And I was like, I don't know. Like, maybe I can, maybe I can't, but we'll see in the 10 minutes that you're gone whether or not I have pushed this baby out or not. Thankfully, I had not. So by the time she came back, we had started kind of pushing, and my doula and the nurse on staff were kind of helping me labor through those contractions. And just like, you know, typically you see they do 3 counts of 10 breaths during the course of a contraction. And so, guys, I had prepped a lot. Like, I had a whole birth plan. I had talked to all the important people. I had watched the videos, read the books, blogs, blah blah blah. I had done as much research and preparation as I possibly could. But the one thing that I forgot, and I'm not sure why, was breathing techniques. I just could not figure out how to breathe effectively. And so my doula was kind of coaching me on that. My mom was helping me. Ideally, you want to keep your breathing like guttural, so it's not so much So it feels like you're grunting or like you're pushing something out. So I mean, imagine yourself constipated and you trying to strain and push and whatever. And so that's kind of the position they wanted you to be in, and particularly your breathing was very guttural and low. And so I would get through the first 10 seconds, and then the last one I would just be like, whatever comes out comes out. I'll scream, I'll screech, whatever happens happens, because at that point I like I couldn't keep my breath. And so they gave me an oxygen mask. I think my mom was supposed to be holding the oxygen mask over my nose, but she was like, I think, really excited and you know, just like, oh my gosh, like never kind of experienced this before. And of course I was in pain, so she was like missing my nose, and I'm like reaching for it, putting it on my nose, and like trying to keep some breath so I can keep pushing. All in all, at one point, you know, it was like, okay, like it's time for this baby to come all the way out. And so Dave was the first person to see our little baby girl's hair as I was starting to crown. And so he said something aloud, and I don't think the nursing staff or the doctor heard him. But then the doctor looked down and she was like, okay, like I can see the head. Let's go. They're telling me like you're gonna feel the ring of fire. And of course I had read about the ring of fire. Essentially that's when your baby is passing through the canal and like you feel a burning sensation, a stinging sensation. I don't really know if that's what I felt as much as just it all just felt like pain to me. But I was like, y'all, do we have to say ring of fire out loud? Like all I hear is Johnny Cash voice in my head, like burning ring of fire. Like y'all, I was like, do we have to say this out loud? Like I know what to expect, but when you say it, I just want to push the little girl back up and hold her there. So obviously my body was saying otherwise, and so we had to get her out of there. And so with a few more helpful pushes, don't know how many exactly, but our baby girl arrived at 12:08 p.m. And I think we were all in shock that I had done it. My husband was in shock. He wasn't saying anything. My mom was in tears. The doula was excited. Everybody was excited. So they took her and weighed her and put her right back on me almost immediately, because they want to encourage skin to skin right after. My husband got to cut the umbilical cord, which he did not plan for, but he did get to cut it. The doctor just kind of handed him the scissors and was like, okay, here you go. But yeah, so that was exciting for us and for him. I did have some like tearing, some lacerations, which is also another part of giving birth that a lot of people don't talk about. It's like, yeah, you just pushed a whole baby through there. And so sometimes you will have some tearing. Some people's is worse than others. Luckily mine was not that bad. I did have to have some stitches, but that was fine. I did forget, I totally forgot to mention to you guys that at one point during the pushing of the labor or delivery, the doctor asked if I wanted to see a mirror so that I could kind of watch along with everyone else what was happening. And I was not certain I had put that on my birth plan. I had chosen a lot of different little, you know, comfort measures and things like that on my birth plan, but having the mirror during the labor and delivery was not one of them. I don't think. Dave said it was, but I don't know for sure. So she's asking me, I don't have my glasses on, y'all, and I am blind. Like I cannot see without these glasses. So she's asking me about the mirror, and she's saying like, oh yeah, it can be a really great motivator to like help you push, and like if you can see baby coming out, like you're more encouraged to push and push harder and like, you know, whatever. So finally I was like, okay, roll the mirror over, that's fine. Get my glasses because I can't see. So I did get to see her head crown a little bit, but then after that, y'all, I was like, take these glasses off. I'm gonna close my eyes and I'm just gonna focus on pushing because that's all I can really focus on right now. So I'm sure it's super helpful for some women, very encouraging, but for me, I just wanted to focus and get this baby out. So I was like, nah, I'm good on this mirror for these last few pushes. But yeah, so all in all, we labored for 9 hours, pushed for about an hour and a half, I guess. Just don't really know the time around the time I got ready to push, but about an hour and a half, 2 hours of pushing. So all in all, it was a pretty short labor. for me, and the experience was wonderful. Again, our doula was so awesome. She was so helpful. One of the things that I had asked for in prayer leading up to the labor and delivery, that the presence of the Lord would be felt in that room, and that it would be a holy place and a place where he was welcomed. And so I think throughout the labor, there were times when I would be singing a song that was on my heart, like a gospel song that was on my heart, or listening to music. And of course, my mom is a singer. She sings in the choir, and so she would start singing something and I would be singing with her, and I wasn't even recognizing this was happening. But the doula in our postpartum meeting was telling us that she indeed was mindful of that, and how sweet it was, and that she did in fact feel the presence of the Lord. Our doctor was great. Our nurse was great. They actually sent us a little card later just saying saying how great it was to serve us. And so I'm really pleased with how everything happened. I'm grateful to God that we were able to go all natural. I'm grateful to my husband, who was an awesome support system for me. The doula took pictures, y'all. So some of them, of course, I will probably never show anyone besides my husband. But there are others that just were really great to have, and to be reminders for me and to my husband of the ways in which the Lord kind of really walked us through all of this, because again, we'd never done this before. It's our first child, but just how sweet it was to lean into one another during that time. I know I was probably a pain in the butt during my pregnancy, but labor, it was just a sweet time for us. I think I hear baby girl crying, so I'm probably gonna have to go feed her, but I will be back to close out this video. Just give me a minute. All right, I'm back. Baby girl had to be nursed and changed and swaddled and burped and all that good stuff. So it's about an hour or so later, but that's life as a new mom. I thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know if you actually do want to see a postpartum recovery video. I'm more than happy to do one. I also did an Insta story poll a while back, just to see if you guys wanted to see a nursery tour, so that is coming. Please stay tuned. I will definitely film that and let you guys see it. But without further ado, I just wanted to introduce you guys to our little one. Her name is Adi Sula, and that is I-D-A-G-I. Her middle name is Sula, S-U-L-A, and of course her last name is Dawkins. Here's some photos from her first week of life, and some photos from our labor and delivery.